Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha. Jumpship incoming.
Hello and welcome to another amazing episode of Mobile Armor Radio. Episode 39, which, what is it in Season 3 terms?
Season 3, Episode 3.
Nice.
Season 3, Season 4?
Season 3. 3 times 12 is 36. Season 4, Episode 3. Yeah.
Your math is spurious.
It's that lack of potassium. It's getting to him.
Crazy.
But welcome to another fantastic episode of Mobile Armor Radio. I'll be your host, one of your hosts tonight, Brian.
And I'm Chopper.
I'm Rob.
And I think we're going to jump right into the dropship.
Ooh, no bantering. Okay, great.
Yeah.
We don't need no stinking banter.
Dropship landing.
Rob said he had to get up early, so we're going right into it.
That's right. Well, I'm leaving on a jet plane in the morning, so.
Well, why don't we start with you then, Rob, before we get demonetized for. So the dropship is the stuff that we're working on in the hobby as far as models and stuff like that. Anything we're building and putting together. So what have you got going on, Rob?
For some reason I was on a Battletech painting kick, so I painted up a star of Clan Wolf Theta Galaxy.
Clan.
That potassium is acting up again.
He's choking on the word clan.
Clan.
So I like them. Most of them are from the some assembly required Kickstarter I talked about last week. Mm-hmm. I also did Free Worlds League Eagle's Talon, because they're cool, kind of cool paint job. It's purple on top and green on the bottom, so I thought that was cool colors. And I did some Dirty Capellan House Amara, and painted those guys up.
Dirty Capellan.
They're white and with green on them and gold. But so I painted those guys up.
Nice.
So that's a lot of.
You posted them, right? Because they look good. I think I still remember seeing them.
Yep, I posted them on our Facebook and our Twitter. Also, I've been printing up lots of mechs from the Avalon 8. It was a Kickstarter STL thing. They did a bunch of sci-fi crews for like Starfinder and stuff and vehicles, but one of the crews is all mechs, so like robots. So I've been printing those guys up. They're quite large, like in 28mm scale. They're, I don't know, probably 100mm tall. So they've been fun.
Oh, jeez.
Wow.
And
the Avalon 8 stuff is really neat because they have like full-on spaceships.
Yeah. Like
with compartments and stuff for 28mm scale.
And they also have the ships in smaller scale, so you could do like ship-to-ship combat too. It's really good for Starfinder if anybody's playing that. I'm pretty sure you're still available to buy them on their store, probably on My Mini Factory or one of those places.
Yeah.
And today, I got my Kids Logic Macross 25 to 27. So it's a VF1 with the atmospheric booster, VF1A Super Veritech, and the 3 Light Artillery battle pods. Pat, you got this probably in March. It was stuck in Hong Kong. They couldn't ship it to Canada for some reason, so I finally got it.
So this is the stuff that we ordered. We had to order separate because the shipping was super.
Because you never gotten it.
Yeah.
Yeah, shipping went through the roof, and then they didn't ship it. So I was like, oh, thanks. So that's the last time I'll be ordering directly from Kids Logic. A lot of other places sell it now, so if they do make more, which I don't think they've announced any past this, other than the actual game. But I'll probably be ordering from like Aries Games or someone. I think they carry them. And that's about it for me. That's all I've done. I've assembled those guys. They look cool, and they're made out of different resin than the last set. It's like a little more robust, and they packaged it a lot better. So Kids Logic,
nice.
The other ones, they were packaged and they always came broken and stuff, and the resin was really brittle. This resin seems a little bit more tough, and it was packaged much better. So I think they're learning how to do miniatures. They're really good at like large scale stuff and statues and stuff, but this is their first miniatures foray, so I think there's a learning curve for them. But much better now. And that's about it for me.
Well, how about you, Pat?
Well, I actually did some stuff because we actually started hobbying again a couple of times. So
that's probably why I painted up so much stuff.
So I started working a lot of stuff. I started finishing up the rest of my second cav list. I painted up 2,500 points worth of cav, and I'm finishing up the other 2,500 to get 5,000. So if Rob's able to come down for Gen Con, and if Gen Con happens, we're going to try and play a game or two. So I wanted to finish up my list. I think I finished up... I can't even remember what I finished up now. I'm trying to finish up...
I don't know them well enough to start throwing names at you.
Yeah.
No, I don't either.
But I finished most of my rack force.
Did you do some from the Kickstarter?
I did not. I'm still using it's the very first Kickstarter. I haven't done anything with the second Kickstarter yet, so... which is... You'd think I would do that, right? I think I should.
Well, it's different. Well, they'd say that you can mix and match the cav into every force, but that was mostly, what was it, Temple and Malvernus or something in that?
Yeah. So those are the ones I wasn't using. I was thinking about maybe starting a Terran force, so... So what did I finish? I finished up an Emperor, an Imperator, and I finished up a Nomic. I think what I got left is a couple Cons and one more Voodoo.
I have it all posted on the Facebook when you get it done.
Did I not post any of the progress pictures?
I don't think so.
Oh, you know why? Because I was so wrapped up with doing the other thing I've been working on while I've been painting my cav. Is I busted open and started painting and building my Neo Zhang, which is ginormous. The amount of parts is very intimidating.
Well, I remember you showed us the hand, the parts, all the bits for the hand, and it's like human size.
Yeah, I found the fingers. The fingers are like these long, because the Neo Zhang's got those cannon fingers.
Mm-hmm.
I found the tips of the fingers were the cannons, and the things are huge. They're about an inch and a half maybe long.
Wow.
I posted some pics of how far I've gotten. I've gotten the shoulders up. That's about it. I'm working on just, it's slow going because there's a lot of parts. And one of the frustrating parts is that it's multiple bags of multiple sprues, but the sprues aren't the same letter. So I have to go look at every sprue to make sure. Because I found one, I was looking for sprue R, and it was in with V.
Oh, jeez.
So it makes no sense.
That's good. That's nice and organized.
Yeah, I mean, if I had, you would think I have more space, but Rob can attest, and same with Brian, but my basement is just cluttered with stuff. So I can't even properly lay out all the sprues. So it's just going to be, what sprue's that? What sprue's that? There it is, found it. And then it's the process of priming and painting as I'm building. So, but it's coming out really nice. I think my red, really wanted to kind of go with the candy apple red for the red, and it's looking really good. When I'm done,
did you just do lots of layers? How'd you get the candy apple?
I primered it, and then I hit it with chrome.
Yeah,
a chrome airbrush by Vallejo, and then I took Pro Acro's transparent red, thinned it a little bit, and then I put it through the airbrush and just kind of layered it. Yeah. But before I did that, chrome on the top, and then I took a black and I did light black in the lines. So
gave a little depth.
Yeah, it would give a little depth. So not just so much that I lined it with a line pen, so it kind of fades out from the line on the thing. So it looks really good.
Nice.
And anything else that I did? I've been working on a lot of stuff. Oh, I started working on the cav train too. From the Kickstarter. That Kickstarter, I started working with the bag of train. I put together some of the scattered terrain on the ground. Started primed and painting all that, like the sandbags and the wrecked cav and all that other stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of it that came with that.
Yeah, I've been having a little problem with my 3D resin printer, so I've had to change the FEP and then re-zero it. So I haven't gotten back to repainting Clan Vacation Guy, so it's to a spec to where I like it. But I printed off another gargoyle, so hopefully it came out and worked out okay. So I'll go down and check that a little bit later on today.
Nice.
Nice.
But that's it. I think most of it's been Cav and that Neo Zhang. I mean, it's very labor intensive, that Neo Zhang.
Yeah. True that.
What about you, Brian? You working on anything?
Well, the big hobby thing for me lately has definitely been the 3D printing side of things. Continued playing around with my FDM printer. I think the big, admittedly, been doing a lot of fantasy terrain recently because I've got a Kings of War event coming up in a couple months, so kind of getting back into the swing of that and building stuff out for my own little table and use. But I did make one of the spaceship models that I found on Thingiverse. I did print that. Got it as a 28 millimeter scale. And it's let me see if I can pull up the name on it real quick. It's like a light frigate is it's one that doesn't I don't think it belongs to a game or like a known property. I think it was just somebody made them. Might have been as like an off Star Wars kind of thing. But it's it's just called like the Light Freighter. Trying to find the name that he had on it, but anywho, I'll send we'll have a link in the show notes.
Millennium Falcon.
Not quite. It's but it's a really kind of neat ship. It basically can come in parts. They do have multiple pieces of it. So it has like a mid section, a front cockpit section, and then the engine. And like all told, this thing's pretty long. I made it for like a dead zone, using it in dead zone and some 5 parsecs from home gaming, and just to kind of be like terrain on the map. But it's just pretty neat. It took a long time to build, to be sure. And it was still when I was playing with things like the infill. And so like one of those sections, if you think about it, it's like a good solid, like almost 2-inch by 2-inch like block of plastic. And my infill was set a little high, I think. So it took a long time, and I'm like, that used up a lot of plastic. So I'm on my 3rd spool from like when I got my printer like almost a month ago or something. It's like every 15 days I got to get a new spool.
That's all right. Rob goes through about 105 spools, so.
So still playing around with that, but that was a lot of fun. And I'm going to be probably magnetizing the pieces. There are other things. I've mostly been on the sci-fi front, kind of perusing different vehicles and terrain sets and stuff like that for my gaming purposes. But yeah, so that's been fun. I was looking at like spaceships today, and I found like the 2 of the spaceships from Gunbuster, and I tracked down, someone had gotten the models for like the hover truck and the Magella tanks from Gundam and stuff like that. So it's like, I'm having fun.
Nice.
It's a fun new hobby to get into. But yeah, so that kind of wraps up what we've been working on. And so next up, we'll be jumping into the ComStar to talk about all sorts of other stuff.
Yes.
Message from ComStar.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Rick.
From Dead Zone the Podcast.
And you're listening to
Mobile Armor Radio. All right, and welcome to the ComStar. So this is a section of the show where we talk about TVs, movies, books, comics, RPGs, video games, everything under the sun, and some things above it that we've been enjoying in the mecha-related fields. So I'm going to pass it back to Pat to go first.
Oh, no.
Yes.
So what have I done? So, as everyone knows, I received my Redline Kickstarter.
Yeah.
In the mail the other day. I did an impromptu unboxing with my box that you can see on the mobile Arm Radio YouTube channel. And then me and Rob did a very rough and a very impromptu how to play, or better yet, it should be labeled learn to play with us.
Yeah.
Over the interwebs using cameras and everything. So it was all right. It wasn't too bad. There was no struggling with seeing the cards and all that other stuff. So it was kind of fun being able to play the card game right away.
Yeah, I think it took about maybe 3 turns before we actually started understanding exactly how it was played, but it was pretty quick.
Yeah, it's not very hard at all, and it's actually pretty fun. There definitely is a lot of back and forth going on, and there definitely is a strategy involved there when trying to capture the missions.
And there's luck too, because you never failed a roll that whole game. I was like, what the hell?
No, I failed the rolls when I needed the big one.
Yeah, you failed the roll, but against me, you never failed a roll. You killed all my mechs like every single shot. I was like, what the hell?
That's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the strategy there is nice because you got to try and anticipate where you got to get the missions that are going to be beneficial for you, but then you also have to anticipate what your opponent is going to be doing and where he's going to go. So you kind of decide where you got to get the mechs. So,
and it's almost like a game of like Connect 4 kind of too, because you're trying to get all 5 spaces. So you're trying to like outmaneuver them too to try to get 5 at once. And yeah, there's a lot of strategy for sure.
So.
I think that's on the box, isn't it? Called the tactical card game. It's tactical.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
There is a tactic to it. I'm not going to. It does live up to it. But then we also we put that up. Check it out. It is very rough. There was some mistakes with the recording on my end.
Well, I was also 3D printing at the same time, because we weren't planning to record, so my printer was going too, which messed up the sound.
To clarify, the recording was what was rough, but the game was pretty good?
Oh, yeah, the game was awesome.
The game was good, but rough learning because we were literally learning as we filmed.
I didn't think it was that rough. I don't think it was that rough learning.
No. I mean, just in the rough in the sense that there was a lot of...
Where you're kind of distracted.
Going back to look at the rules and stuff. It didn't... I edited a lot out, too, of just... of dead space.
There was a lot of us looking for like certain keywords and stuff, trying to figure out what they meant, and
sure.
Plus, we were playing over the internet too, so all the time I'm asking Pat, "What does that one say? What does that one say?" Because he had it all on his computer. So I had my cards on mine, but he had the middle cards and his cards on his. So I had a lot of asking questions. It'd be a lot easier if we were in front of each other. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but we'll definitely do it again to kind of clean up a playthrough, so it won't be as choppy.
Yeah, we'll do a legit playthrough now that we know how to play.
And then we'll definitely play around with some camera angles before we actually record this time. So
yeah, because I think mine was sideways, or yours was sideways, and mine was so it looked like I was playing sideways to him. We can actually arrange it to make it look like we're actually across from each other. So
yeah, so we'll mess around with that and stuff. So, but other than that, I don't think I've done too much. I still haven't finished Hathaway. I've been meaning to.
It's good.
Kickstarted the omnibus, the Pacific Rim omnibus.
The Pacific Rim?
Yeah.
I think we talked about that last time, didn't we?
Yeah, but hadn't done it. I finally did it, though.
That counts.
Well, I didn't get the pins. I think I went for the nice sleeved one.
Yeah, I just went for the hardcover book, I think.
But I was thinking then at the Pledge Manager that I would add the pins.
Yeah, they're kind of cool, but I don't know. I guess I would put them on my Gen Con bag. That's where all my other pins are.
Yeah, that's kind of what I want them for, too. So, but we'll see. Redline Kickstarter is started.
Siege, the next one.
Yeah, the next expansion for the card game. I need to get on that.
Yeah,
and did I do any other Mech Kickstarter related stuff? I don't think I did. What about you, Brian? What you got?
Well, the big thing I've still been doing is playing through Cyberpunk 2077. That's still been a lot of fun. I'm on the PS4, and the game hasn't been worse than Fallout 4 for me, right?
Yeah.
As far as game breaking glitches and stuff. I'm having a really fun time. I'm doing that thing where it's like, okay, I know where the next main quest is. I'm gonna go do a whole bunch of other stuff first.
Yeah, nothing's timed, which is nice. You could just do all the side quests.
I did that with the Elder Scrolls one. What was that, Dragon something?
I mean, you'll have to be more specific. Maybe Skyrim?
Skyrim, that's the one I was thinking of.
Because you do that in all the Elder Scrolls.
Well, yeah, I'm at the whatever. I always
played
you're
Dragonborn in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I did all the Elder Scrolls on the computer except for Skyrim.
Gotcha.
I've always done all those on the computer, yeah.
Skyrim is that bizarre thing where it just kind of kept getting re-released. Like that is an 11-year-old game or something like that now.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were just re-releasing the game or they're just adding to it.
Well, what they do is they re-release it and it just has a little bit more stuff in it every time. So
yeah, but it was like on new consoles and stuff like that. But yeah, so that's been something I've continued to work through. I probably start pushing through on the main quest some more. I did another. I think since the last time we talked, I did another round of my 5 parsecs from home game. It basically, like you do, it goes in game turns where you basically go through this whole process of like, okay, what does your crew go out and do? You go get a job, you do like the actual like skirmish battle, and then you kind of do some upkeep at the end of it. It's really like a really neat and fun process. A lot of it is, random dice rolling on charts and stuff. But it is, you can really kind of get into the groove of it and really kind of have that feel of like, okay, this is my crew and they're having their episode this week and we're fighting punks. So I had a bunch of Brockers on the field. But on top of that, I did play in a Dead Zone tournament just this last month here. And I brought my Gundam themed list where it was a 200-point Dead Zone tournament. And so that let me sneak in 2 Striders. And I didn't do great. I don't play GCPS that often, which is
they're harder ones to play too.
Yeah, they're a little tricky to play, especially where the way I was kind of doing it, which was a bit more of like, okay, I'm going for this very specific theme that doesn't necessarily play to their strengths. Mm-hmm. And if you don't play to the strengths of the GCPS, you're gonna struggle, to be sure. But it did start off really fun where my first opponent, my buddy Nick, who's just getting into Dead Zone, brought an Asterion list, and so he had 2 Spectras because he heard I was bringing 2 Striders.
Oh my god.
And so it was like a giant mech slugfest, except that his guys like killed mine like instantly. One of the Spectras one-shotted a Strider.
Yeah.
It was pretty brutal, but it was an absolute blast. I got to see some friends of the Dead Zone, the podcast that I'm on, Dead Zone, the podcast, and so they friends of the show like came all the way up from I believe Virginia as a little mini vacation and to play Dead Zone.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was a fun time. There was about 8 of us playing, and it was put on by a friend, Adam Kinney, who ran the tournament. And he was a little sad that he didn't get to be a ringer because we had an even number of players. But it was a really fun time. It was really good to get gaming again with people. And then I think the last thing I had kind of on my docket that I wanted to mention is I haven't seen it yet. I was going to try and sneak it in before we recorded, but I just didn't work out. Is that the final Evangelion movie is available on Amazon Prime?
Yeah, I saw that this morning.
And I'm pretty stoked to see it. I've been a fan of the franchise for a long time. I know there's a lot a lot you can unpack from that series, rather than just it being a straight up like, oh, here's some organic-y looking giant robots fighting giant monsters. There's a lot going on in that show if you're willing to search for it. It can also just be kind of enjoyed at that top level too. But I think the appreciation for it is there if you so choose. So I'm pretty excited. It's interesting. I don't have the full story in front of me, but I know they re-recorded the dub like 4 times.
Wow.
Like the whole movie they redid 4 times. Because like the director like kept not being satisfied with how the translation went or something along those lines. I think it was different each time, but yeah. So that's from friends that I have seen it. It sounds like they've really enjoyed it. They definitely like it as a kind of final cap on the franchise. And so if you get a chance, if you're interested in the Evangelion series, like I definitely recommend check out the anime series first. The movies are kind of supposed to be their own entity, as kind of a retelling of events, but it does diverge from what happened in the series. But the more I hear about it, the more there's like, these things are probably more linked to one another than we've been led to believe. So I'm excited to see the finale for that series. And I think that puts a wrap on all the stuff that I've been doing. So I think, Rob, you need to do your ComStar stuff yet, right?
Yep. Don't forget about me.
Won't forget.
I also received Redline, so I was excited about getting that. I got the mechs and the playmat, so I got that. Which, for the Siege, I also pledged for the mechs and the playmat for that one, too. So I'll be getting that next level for there's 2 more decks coming out, as well as 4 more mechs.
What are the mechs in the Kickstarter? I didn't get a chance to look at it yet.
I don't know what their names are or anything, but you can go to the Kickstarter and find out.
I will.
Good.
So, yeah.
I don't know. They just look like cool because they're mechs. The ones that we got, they're pretty much Battletech sized, I would say. They're that scale. And, it's pretty cool. And I also watched Transformers Kingdom. The final chapter of that trilogy came out. I think if you're a Beast Wars fan, you probably enjoy it because it really diverged from Beast Wars. But since I knew nothing about Beast Wars, I really enjoyed it. A lot of time travel and stuff in it, so it's fun. And a lot more Starscream, who's my favorite, so he was in it. So it was fun. I liked the whole series. Optimus Prime, his voice was really odd. I don't know why you can't get Peter Cullen to do everything, but...
I know, right? Where was that at again?
What's that? Where?
Well, yeah.
Netflix.
Oh, we need to get on that then. Jesus, I didn't even know that was out.
Yep, that came out. We talked about it last month. You should listen to our podcast. It tells you about these things.
We talked about it?
Yes. We talked about it coming out. It came out the first of this month, or last month, I should say.
Oh.
It's that potassium deficiency kicking in.
It is. It's the Ted Lasso.
But yeah, it was fun. It was. I can see why people don't like it because it does diverge a lot from the original stuff, but it was fun enough. Good show. You can tell it was rushed by the end. I think they needed another series probably to tell the story. And I have a feeling it wasn't anything like it was what they started out with the toy line and stuff, where they had everything attached to it. I think it was totally divergent for what they originally planned, because the toys that came out for the series had nothing to do with the series, which is kind of odd. But what you can do? I also
sell more
got
toys.
Yeah, that's right. That's the whole point. But I got my MechaHex RPG in the mail finally, which was nice. So I got that.
Nice.
So we got to play more of that, Pat.
Definitely, I've been working on it, and we just need to. I just need to pick a date, and we just need to get it going.
Yeah, we just got to get the regular group again and start doing.
Yeah, stuff is ready. I just need to suck it up and go. Hey, let's play.
Yeah, we got to figure out like one day a month just to do RPG.
Yeah, definitely.
What else? Some stuff that online. Infinity Deathmatch Tag Raid is coming out, which is pretty much Infinity, but just mechs fighting each other. Usually their tags are in metal, and I hope they do Siocast for these ones, but I'm not sure. Because if it's metal, each tag is like $60. So to have a board game, I don't know how they're going to do that. Couldn't afford it.
Oh yeah, that could be pretty pricey.
$60.
Oh yeah, the tags are super expensive.
See, I don't follow Infinity too much because it's just not my thing.
Oh, I love the aesthetic of it. It's just
so Tag is another part of Infinity, or just
Tag is the robots, the mechs.
Tags are like the if you think about like the landmates from like Appleseed, I think is a pretty good example. So they're like just big power suits more often than not.
What is does Tag stand for anything?
I'm sure it does, but I don't know what it stands
for. I can't think of it.
But this
let us know in the comments below.
It's the expensive game.
Well, no, this is this is a game that they've spun off of Infinity. That's just pretty much mech in arenas fighting each other.
Yeah.
So it's more of a board game.
The expensive game.
And hopefully it's in plastic, because I don't want to spend on Benno Minis. If it's in plastic, I actually might look into getting this. We'll see. I don't know if they're bringing it on, if they're going to do a Kickstarter for it, or they're just going to release it, but we'll see. Probably release it. I don't think Infinity does Kickstarters. Did they do it? Maybe they did for their side games.
Yeah, I will find out.
And for those listening, the meaning of tag is tactical armored gear.
There you
tag.
go.
Not the expensive game, huh?
No. There's also something called MechaHex, which is the one-page rules. I don't know if anybody's familiar with one-page rules. People have been doing where they convert like huge systems for like 40K or other games, and they just make one-page rules to use your miniatures in them. And this MechaHex is kind of used for Battletech. It's by Mark Bell. The link is in the show notes, or you can go on our Facebook page, but just check it out. Once again, it's one page, so and it's free. So
they're free. There's a lot of them too. They do different scales. There's a fun. Their big one's probably the Grimdark.
Yeah.
Which is an offshoot, as you can imagine, but they do have like a whole bunch of other ones. I know there's I forget the name of it. It might just be FTL. They have like a spaceship battle game.
Yeah, I think this MechaHex is based on the FTL version. So
yeah,
nice.
Yep. Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's once again there's a Facebook page that's just dedicated to all these one-page rules. So
they're fun.
That out too. Also, the big news is that Battletech Wave 2 should be shipping to everybody by the time this comes out. And we're getting excited. Lots of more mechs. I don't know how I'm going to get them all to you, Pat. I'm going to have to hire a Sherpa.
Sherpas are trustworthy and hard workers.
Yeah, they're going to have to carry all your stuff I have here for you.
You just don't trust any guy to take you up to the Himalayas, man. Those guys,
or to
mad
Chicago.
Respect. Mad respect to the Sherps.
Yep. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of mechs coming, because I think even after I ordered your initial thing, I think I added more to it when the Pledge Manager reopened. So I can only imagine how big a box this is coming for me. So it should be fun. And that's it for me. I think that's all ComStar. I don't think I've done anything else. I don't think so.
Alrighty. Well, I think with that, then we're going to move on to the MechBay Hanger and the main topic of the episode.
Now entering the MechBay Hanger.
And welcome to the MechBay Hanger. This is our roundtable main topic where we discuss a fun thing in the mech genre. And so today, my topic for the rest of us was to kind of just do a little fun chat on the scale of mecha fights. And what I mean by that is, do we prefer the one-on-one, hero versus villain fight? Do we like the squad v squad, or do we love when it's just a giant mass battle of gears and bullets and beams clashing and exploding in space? So to start, I'm going to throw it to Pat.
Oh no.
So if you wanted to talk about one that's whether it's to play or to watch or to read about, Do you have a personal favorite of yours, or even favorites example of one of them?
I guess if we have to pick one, I think my favorite way to do mech stuff is probably Army versus Army, and that's on a tabletop game. I just don't feel like the Army versus Army translates very well on the screen. As far as animes are concerned, I'm trying to think back. Even the big giant battle in Gundam was just a lot of.
You focused on certain people. You definitely didn't see the scale of the fight for sure.
And it's just like it was the 70s, so it's a lot of rehashed cut scenes of the same robot dying 1,700 times.
Yep.
But in the grand scheme of things, I like the big giant armies. I like moving. I like seeing just squads of mechs or lances, if we want to go back.
Specifically for Battletech?
Yeah. Cav, they're the squads that, it's just something to be said as like commanding just an army of mechs and seeing each one do its own individual thing. You might have a standout mech just rolling phenomenal and being the hero.
The camera's focused on him.
Yeah. That being said, large-scale Battletech is something to be desired.
Oh, that's what First Strike's sort of for, but
yeah, I haven't done large scale like back in the 90s. We used to go to a con in LA called OrcCon, and then they used to have I want to say 10 Lance, 10 Stars clan versus Intersphere game, and that thing lasted all 4 days and maybe only got through 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah. Battletech is not made for large scale, that's for sure.
So, like at one point we were like, that would be cool. Let's get in that game. Let's try and sign up for it. And then we didn't get in the first year, and then we watched it, and I was like, what's going on? I'd come back like 7 hours later. What's going on? They're just finishing up the first half of the first turn. I'm like, oh my God. I don't want to do that.
No, you have to be a certain type of person who want to play at that scale. That's the problem. It's fun to play at that scale, but is there any rule set that really work for that scale? I don't know if there is.
It's hard. But that being said, I still like Army versus Army.
Maybe you should make your own rules, Pat.
Okay.
and then post them up on one-page rules.
I got
it'll take more than 1 page, I think, for mass battle.
Yeah. It would call reinventing kind of some stuff, and maybe I will. We'll see. I got some other things I got to finish up that are actual work.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
But I do, I guess, Army versus Army, but I do enjoy the classical protagonist versus the antagonist in the movies.
So what you're saying is you hate squad versus squad.
In the movie.
Absolutely hate it.
It's either 1v1 or Army versus Army. That's it. There's no way between.
For game, if we're going to go, the squad v squad is great when you're showing someone how to play the game. But the ultimate goal is to get Army versus Army, so.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. How about you, Rob?
I couldn't disagree more.
Of course you couldn't.
I just don't have the patience for Army versus Army anymore. Maybe if it's good rule set that actually worked, but the idea of playing a game for that long, I just can't do it anymore. I don't know. I remember when I was a kid, we'd play RPGs for a whole weekend. I couldn't even imagine doing that anymore. I'd like to play lots of different things. So squad versus squad for playing for sure would be 1v1 versus in playing games. I don't think works very well either because it's either over too quick or I guess you'd be doing minutia and stuff, but I don't even know of any games, maybe board games of some sort that do 1v1, but usually like tactical games is squad versus squad or Army versus Army, but yeah, for playing, definitely Army or squad versus squad. And for watching, that's totally different because 1v1 is got to be the most common thing. Like all the Gundam is always almost always one or two versus it's maximum. Like I don't know if that you consider a squad like 2v2, but yeah, it's usually pretty close combat for every show. Like same with Votoms and all that, it's always pretty much one guy versus a whole group of guys coming at him. That's usually what they are. But
yeah.
I can't think of any anime that really shows army versus army, even squad versus squad very much. I guess, what was the Gundam? No, Votoms, what was it called? One of the OVAs for Votoms did have squads in it, which was, I really liked that one, actually. So
nice. That's
the only one I can think of that really. Oh, I guess even 08th is a squad. That's a good show. That was a good show.
Yeah.
So I think I prefer squad versus squad even in the shows, but it's harder to do, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And the army versus army is impossible to do in anime. Like, I don't think I've ever seen it. Well, you say, in Gundam battles, sometimes they are giant fights, but you don't see them,
Right. Well, I would argue that you guys have both seen some decent army versus army. Because the example that came to mind for me was like Robotech and Macross. Right.
Yeah, so, I guess so a little bit, but even you concentrate on the heroes though. You don't see the fights though, really.
You're not seeing the whole.
I'm just saying
Skull Squadron. You're just seeing Max and.
Yeah. That's because Skull Squadron's already decimated by the time we get to that.
Yeah.
And they're the only squadron left. You
do shoot ship versus ship battles though. I can see that. What you're saying? Is that what you mean? Like that kind of bigger scale? Yeah.
Yeah, like with like Macross is the big one that came to mind, where it's you just see all these explosions going off in space, and you just know that something's blowing up. But we do get lots of shots of flights and combinations of suits and everything fighting off against one another. Obviously, we do have a lot of focus on our heroes and what they're specifically doing at the time. But I would say like Macross was pretty good about showing the whole scale of the fight as it was going on, and continued in a lot of their future projects as well. I think the other one that kind of came to mind with that one was Gundam Wing, actually. But again, mostly because you just look into space and you see all these explosions. That one's a weird kind of one versus army kind of feel.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in anime for sure.
There's a lot of that in anime.
Yeah, you get a lot of mindless drones coming at your hero and just get destroyed. But
they
even army
kind of got away with that later on.
Yeah, but for tactical scale, I'm like saying you don't ever see it from like the commander's point of view. Usually you're in the cockpit kind of. You never see it from the above, like in seeing all the like different fronts and stuff, like an actual war game would be, right? Or even like you watch like Napoleonics or something, you see it like all the moves and everything. You never get that in anime with mech battles. It's even in Battletech. You don't like. I'm trying to think even any of the books. I don't even think any of the sort of. I guess when they Operation Serpent, when they invade the clans, they kind of do it from a tactical point of view or strategic point of view. But most of the time, you're in the cockpit, and then most of the time they don't know what's going on.
It's pilot. It's always pilot versus pilot in the books.
Gotcha.
I think there's a few that kind of go higher other than the politics books, but I mean, like, there's a few battle books that actually show the battle from a perspective. Like, that's kind of rare, though. But I, as always, I think it's as long as it's well done, any of those work well, right? Like,
absolutely, yeah. Like the 1v1 is a fun, like, is essentially a duel, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of great examples of that in I would argue in anime, and just heck, even in real life we had the Japan robot versus what was the Mecha Eagle? What did they call it? Those two actual like big robots that were built, and then like
was this a fever dream?
No. There was. I can't believe you guys don't remember that. They did this little show, and it was a challenge where there was a U.S. team, and they built this kind of on treads.
Mechs. Yes.
Yeah.
It wasn't giant size though; it was more like tank size.
Yeah, they were taller than tanks, but yeah, kind of that scale.
It was against Japan.
And it was against Japan. Yeah. We've got robot jocks, stuff like that, where it's 1v1. And so it's a space that can have some really fun and exciting, just tellings and stories around it. I do agree with you, Rob. It is a little tricky to pull off a 1v1 in a satisfying way from a game perspective, at least from like a tabletop game perspective.
Yeah. Like I say, board games or video games. Yeah,
video games are probably able to pull it off. Yeah, because that's just fighting games. Tabletop games, like you're saying, like you try to have a bit more tactics to it. To make that satisfying, it could be something that in its own way kind of gets a little bogged down with rules, and that's like, your mastery of the rules is how you win over your opponent kind of thing.
What's that crisis? What's that game, Pat? That we have the critical. What's it called? The mech game. It's 1v1. It's a card game though.
Yeah, the card game where you have the pilots.
Oh, Critical Mass.
Critical Mass. That's it, yeah. I was trying to find it on my shelf, but I don't know where it is. Critical Mass is 1v1. But that's a card game once again, though. Yeah,
so it's definitely doable. I do think my favorite, and I think this is for both watching and playing, is definitely the squad v squad, or some form of that. The one that I immediately thought of with this example was 08th MS team.
Mm-hmm.
When throughout the course of that show, we really come to know each member of that squad, and so seeing them all, not only in danger individually, but seeing them also work as a team against more often than not a squad of characters. Heck, even in that show, we had the little Xeon squad that was wandering around in the jungle and happened upon the rebel village, right? So we kind of got to know that squad in a little way, and so there was some drama there, to be sure. But I think that for me is probably the most satisfying, and from playing, because that is that fun balance of tactics where you can be planning ahead and thinking of ways to flank and outmaneuver, and it's not all relying on one. You're not just running straight at each other. Hopefully, you're not just running straight at each other in order to accomplish that. Army versus army does kind of fall into a weird space, even with games. Another example would be this is again kind of more of the 1v army, but the Dynasty Warriors games for Gundam, and stuff like that, where it's a big battle, but you're playing an individual character. I mean, there are it is that thing where depending on the scale, there are a couple of board games that manage to pull that off with this starts bridging into a different genre. You look at Risk, for example, where technically each one of those guys represents an army, right? And so, in a way, that is an army versus army. But
we need Risk with mechs. That's a problem.
Technically, they had that.
I'm surprised they got to have a Pacific Rim Risk out there, right?
No,
I think there might. That one maybe not. I know there's a Metal Gear Solid 4 one because I own that, and then there was. I'm trying to remember the number. There was a
Monopoly
2240.
You can definitely do.
I remember that one. Yeah.
You can definitely do a Battletech with all the houses.
Yeah, I think that would be awesome. That's it. Or even Axis and Allies, right? That kind of thing too. You should have combined arms in Axis and Allies.
Yeah.
And I won't lie. I think Rob, I had similar feelings when I was younger, where it was me and my buddies were like, man, we could play a game of Risk, and that would translate into a game of 40K. And it was if you had that many armies, that's how many points you have to spend on units and stuff. And we're like, man, that would take forever to play.
Oh yeah. You used to have limitless patience. I have no patience left.
But yeah, so it is a fun thing to kind of see the different spaces and scales that we come to see and enjoy in mechs. I think there's a wide variety of them out there, and there's something for everybody, I think, if we look for it. So if you, our audience, our listeners, have any favorite examples of like a 1v1 tabletop game with mechs that you think is just stellar, or if there's a fun squad v squad anime out there that we haven't seen, or like Pat's looking for, some kind of story or something told from that, tactical, map view, but also dives down deep into the guys on the battlefield at the same time, so we get the entire picture. Let us know in the comments below.
For sure.
And I think with that, we're going to head to the ExFil.
Let's ExFil out of here.
And here we are at the ExFil. We're wrapping up the show for the evening. I hope everybody had a good time. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
I thought you were talking to the audience.
We're doing great, Brian.
We're doing great, yeah. Well, that's good to hear.
It's nice to hear from the audience.
Yeah, it's great to hear from you guys. Your voices are all very high-pitched and squeaky. But
there's a lot of hydrogen out here. Or helium. Sorry, wrong gas.
Well, if it's a lot of hydrogen, don't light a match. Yeah. And
Whoosh.
So, thank you for checking out the episode. We hope you liked it. Definitely subscribe to the show. I'm going to hand it over to Rob because he likes doing the outro stuff. Where can they find us, Rob?
Just Twitter, Facebook, Discord, although we're not very on it very much. Although lately there's been a lot of action on the Discord. Where else?
Action.
Yeah. Gmail us at everything's Mobile Armor Radio. So you just type that into any of those things. And
check out our YouTube videos.
YouTube, yep.
Horrible, but they're entertaining.
Well,
they're content.
We try to get them out quick when we get stuff, so that's usually why they're not so slick. But
they can find us down on the corner out there in the streets.
Well, actually, this month, hopefully, we'll be at Gen Con. You can come and see us. We'll be at the Mantic booth, hopefully, Pat and I. And I keep saying hopefully because I'm in Canada, so I'm not actually allowed to go to the States yet. But
actually, you're not allowed to drive across the border.
That's true. I could fly. So
in the winter it'll freeze and you can snowmobile across the lake.
Oh, they patrol that thing. It's almost like they expect people to smuggle stuff.
True.
But hopefully you could come see us. You don't know the booth number or anything, do you, Pat?
I do, but not off the top of my head. It's 9-something.
Anyways, come to Gen Con. It should be
for 9-something.
Yeah, it's a whole aisle.
Look for the Chaosium booth. They're usually right next to us.
Yeah. And we are at Mantic Games. Yeah, come say hi if you like the show and you're at Gen Con.
Yeah, come say hi. We'd love to meet you.
And other than that, I think that's it. You can send us on our way, Brian.
All right. Well, have a nice night, everybody. And from us at Mobile Armor Radio, have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter at @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the first of every month for more mecha discussion.